What is happening in your country right now is sad beyond words. It's disgusting. For innocent black Christians to just be walking down the street and can be unalived, that should not be happening, and it is a very sad situation. To the ones who got on my post and told me don't speak on what I don't know about, come on and sip a little tea with Auntie. We definitely gonna talk about it a little bit. Now, I am a black person inside of the United States, the country that is ran by Donald Trump. Everybody is giving Donald Trump praise, but let me tell you this: Donald Trump could care less about the black people inside of the United States. Do you think for a minute he cares about the black Christians in Nigeria? He does not. Trust me, Donald Trump does nothing for anyone for free. It always has to benefit him some way, shape, form, or fashion.
This morning, new details emerging about the U.S. strikes in Nigeria on Christmas. The Pentagon releasing this video, a U.S. warship firing a Tomahawk cruise missile from the Gulf of Guinea. A U.S. official telling ABC News more than a dozen missiles were launched. In a village targeted by the strikes in northwest Nigeria, residents searched through the rubble of their homes, now leveled after the strikes. The next day, locals gathering as police sweep the site of a missile strike.
A few days ago, a U.S. airstrike ordered by Donald Trump hit a small town in Nigeria. And not just any day, this happened on Christmas. Now Trump's saying it was to take out ISIS terrorists who were targeting Christians. But here's where things don't add up. The town that got hit, locals say it's peaceful. They don't have terrorist groups there. In fact, Muslims and Christians in that community have been living together without conflict. So the question is, why was that town targeted? And why is this being framed like some kind of holy war? Because once you start putting religion in the middle of military strikes, especially in a place like Nigeria, you're not just fighting people. You're stirring up centuries of tension. And look, I'm not here to defend terrorists, but I am here to question power, question narratives, and look at who really pays the price when these decisions get made. Watch closely and ask yourself, what's really going on here? Let's get into it.
This morning, new details emerging about the U.S. strikes in Nigeria on Christmas. The Pentagon releasing this video, a U.S. warship firing a Tomahawk cruise missile from the Gulf of Guinea. A U.S. official telling ABC News more than a dozen missiles were launched. In a village targeted by the strikes in northwest Nigeria, residents searched through the rubble of their homes, now leveled after the strikes. The next day, locals gathering as police sweep the site of a missile strike.
I quickly rushed this morning to come and see the level of damage that this has given to the community. Glory be to God, there was no loss of life and no much damage to the properties.
President Trump saying he ordered the strikes against terrorists who, quote, have been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians. The president saying he delayed the strikes for symbolic reasons, telling Politico, quote, they were going to do it earlier, and I said, nope, let's give a Christmas present. The Pentagon says multiple ISIS terrorists were killed. U.S. and Nigerian officials confirming they worked together on the operation. Analysts tell ABC News the reality on the ground in Africa's most populous country, home to millions of Christians and Muslims, is complex.
Christians are not the sole target of ISIS in Nigeria. They have been indiscriminate in their violence against Christians, Muslims, civilians, government, it doesn't matter.
Nigeria's government responding to the strikes overnight, saying terrorist violence in any form, whether directed at Christians, Muslims, or other communities, remains an affront to Nigeria's values and to international peace and security.
Distance to Nigeria. We're going to do things to Nigeria that Nigeria is not going to be happy about and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible, horrible atrocities. I'm hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. These are cherished people. These are great people. Leave them alone. War warning. The Nigerian government better move fast before it's too late. If they don't, there's going to be hell to pay.
So Donald Trump once again incriminated himself just weeks before he actually did this. He tends to follow this psychopathic thing where he obsesses on something over and over again until he finally does something about it, and it's usually very illegal. And the minute he changed the name the Department of Defense to the Department of War, we knew exactly what he intended on doing. And we're watching it unfold now, because no matter how many times Nigeria has corrected Trump saying there's no genocide against Christians, yes, there's extremists out here and they're committing violence against anybody, but number one, no one's being targeted. Number two, these aren't Americans getting targeted by extremists happening in another country. Last I checked, that's that country's job to take care of. And if that country doesn't reach out to you, you can't just blast missiles into their land. That is not your territory. You do not own that, manage that, or decide what goes on over there. You can speak to the leader and work toward a solution, but to get on camera multiple times and lie to try to bully someone into letting you do whatever you want to them, that only makes you the bad guy in every single scenario. Because what happens when your missiles kills innocent people from another country? We'll tell you what happens. It's an impending World War III. He's done it to Venezuela, Colombia, Trinidadians, because that's who he's killed in international waters by accident and on purpose, and now Nigeria. He's targeting smaller countries whose militaries can't compete with us one-on-one, but what happens when you make too many enemies? And it gets even worse for Trump, because Trump apparently has the actual data that there is no genocide against Christians, that extremists are targeting everybody, and that Nigeria is actively working against that every single day. This is the problem with having a gaslighter, liar, and manipulator for president. They twist things around and they do illegal things to try to justify it. Matter of fact, isn't propaganda number one by using religion as a way to lead these people to do horrible things and then justify it after? You don't get to kill, murder, and be terrible to other people and then pray to God at the end of the night every single day. That is not how that works, and you are not representative of that religion. There are certain guidelines and practices you follow to be devout of that religion you follow, and in this case we are speaking of Christianity.
So Trump bombed Nigeria, y'all, yesterday, and basically it was for him saying that he's getting the terrorists, he's getting ISIS, because ISIS has been killing the Christians in Nigeria and things like that, right, y'all? Now, it was 3 days ago, y'all, in Bakamo, Mali, that Captain Abraham Traore made a statement, and he literally stated that the Black Winter. He said the Black Winter is here and it's coming. You know what I'm saying? Now on Christmas, Trump decides to bomb them. Now, the rhetoric around saving Christians is being weaponized to justify a new era of foreign military intervention in West Africa. And this follows a familiar, dangerous playbook. Okay, y'all, we witnessed the warning of Captain Abraham Traore 3 days ago, right, y'all? His speech about a Black Winter. Days later, the United States decides to bomb them and conduct strikes on Nigeria on Christmas. Framed as a rescue mission, the narrative is being set, counterterrorism and sectarian protection, as pretext, y'all, for a renewed geopolitical chessboard. But we're no... Nigeria has lots of things that America is using. They're using them for minerals, okay? And for anyone that's in Nigeria that does not think that their government doesn't have some type of part into the deaths and all the things that's happening in Nigeria, then, you know, it's kind of like how people that's not in America, they know what the our government is doing to us, and we're not in Africa, and we know what the y'all government is doing to y'all. You know what I'm saying? We're paying attention to Abraham Traore. I've been following this man for a while now, and like he said, the celebration of surgical strikes, y'all, ignores the long winter of blowback, y'all, displacement and entrenched conflict that always follows. Okay, y'all.
So you got all of these genocides of black people going on around the world. Christians, as they want to say, being murdered, but Donald Trump don't see them. He only sees the one in Nigeria. And let me tell you why, Art. I know you're familiar with Ibrahim Traore and the Sahel Alliance. Ibrahim Traore is the president of Burkina Faso. You also have the president of Niger, Chiani, and you have General Goita of Mali, right?
Right.
The real reason, Art, and I need you to get this, the real reason Donald Trump wants to invade northern Nigeria, Art, has nothing to do with black Christians. Nothing to do with my Christian brothers and sisters in the north. Northern Nigeria sits under what country, Art? Northern Nigeria sits right under Niger, one of the 3 countries in the Sahel Alliance. Nigeria borders Niger. And why is Niger so important, Art? Who is the number 1 supplier of uranium in the world? Niger. Do you know what you need uranium for, Art? Nuclear missiles, nuclear bombs, nuclear technology, nuclear warheads. Niger is the number 1 supplier of uranium. And in the nuclear age, Art, uranium is the vibranium of Black Panther. In the nuclear age, uranium is the vibranium that they talked about in the Black Panther movie. So the reason Donald Trump needs to get into northern Nigeria, Art, so they can invade and try to overthrow President Chiani in Niger so they can get control of the uranium. Are you with me so far?
I follow you.
Not only does Niger have uranium, they have gold and other resources. And then next to Niger, you have who? Mali. Mali has gold. Mali has copper. Mali has zinc and unlimited natural resources. And then Burkina Faso is only a hop, skip, and a jump from northern Nigeria. And you know they want to get rid of Ibrahim Traore. And we pray to God and the ancestors that never happens. But they want to get rid of Ibrahim Traore because he's the leader. And what does Burkina Faso have a whole lot of? Gold, Art. Donald Trump wants to geopolitically and strategically put the U.S. military in northern Nigeria so they have easy access to invade Niger right above, Mali right above to the left, and Burkina Faso right above even further to the left. Do you see that?
Right, I see.
This is about overthrowing independent African states, Art. Donald Trump don't give a damn about no Black Christians in Nigeria. He don't care about the ones here. So for my sister Nicki Minaj, to go to the United Nations and give voice to Donald Trump's false flag of caring about Christian Nigerians and Black Africa is a disservice to her race.
Donald Trump launches military strikes in African countries, including Nigeria. Now, this comes within less than 100 hours after Nicki Minaj appeared on Turning Point USA, December 21st, 2025, with Erica Kirk, widow to the late Charlie Kirk. Nicki Minaj green light Donald Trump on behalf of Black people to conduct strikes in Africa, including Nigeria. Donald Trump has been talking about these terrorist groups that are killing Christians in parts of Africa for a while now, okay? But as we all know, there's always, they need a prop, like they need a nod. You get what I'm saying? We all know that when these things are going to take place, just like President Bush did with Condoleezza Rice and Colin Powell, they needed that black nod, that black green light, that black person that says, you know, it's okay as a black person, influential black person, you can do it. It's okay. And that's exactly what Nicki Minaj did on Turning Point USA. She spoke about Nigeria. You understand? And the killings that are happening in Nigeria. Now, let's be fair here. If people are dying because of their religion, we all know that's wrong. Okay? But the focus here is the black nod, so to speak, giving Donald Trump the green light to attack these African nations. Now, I've been doing some research and I realized that more than one African country is under attack currently in December 2025 by Donald Trump and MAGA. Okay? So, according to AFRICOM, which is the branch of the U.S. military that takes care of African affairs, it's called AFRICOM. So if you go to AFRICOM website, us.africom.gov, you will find that airstrikes targeting ISIS Somalia on December 23rd, 2025, that's listed in their official websites. Also another strike which says, in coordination with the federal government of Somalia, U.S. AFRICOM Command conducted airstrikes targeting ISIS Somalia on December 22nd, 2025, right? And the last but not least here, okay, so another attack was targeting, it says, in accordance with the federal government of Somalia, U.S. AFRICOM Command AFRICOM conducted an airstrike targeting Al-Shabaab on December 17, 2025. Right, so that's 3 different strikes that most people have no idea occurred because they're just focused on the Nigerian strikes, which took place on Christmas Day. Right, so the Nigerian strikes, and this is coming from their official websites from AFRICOM, says at the direction of the President of the United States, the Secretary of War, and in coordinations with Nigerian authorities, U.S. Africa Command conducted strikes against ISIS terrorists in Nigeria on December 25, 2025 in Sokoto State. So that's the place where the strikes took place, in Sokoto State. Okay, so the command initial assessment of this multiple ISIS terrorists were killed in the ISIS camps. Cool. So with that to the side, now we have a better understanding of the places that were strikes. And of course, Somalia was strike, which most people aren't talking about, but they were strike in December also. And they'll probably get more strikes, okay? And of course, Trump said that he hates Somali nationals and it's a shithole country, and he said all that, right? Now let's get back to Nicki Minaj and this black nod. They could have used, say, Amber Rose. Why they didn't use a person like Amber Rose? She's famous, but she's not influential. Understand it? Okay, there's a difference. You can be famous, but you're not influential. So they needed a person who is famous, influential, and has reach. And if you look at Nicki Minaj is a Trinidadian born immigrant, right? So she has reach in the Caribbean. She has a good reach in the Caribbean. She has reach in America because she's one of the most popular hip-hop female rappers of all time in the United States. So she has reach to black people in America. She has reach in the Caribbean. She has reach in England. Sometimes she raps in British accent. She has reach in Europe. She has a great reach. Okay, cool. So they use Nicki Minaj because of her influence and the reach she has to to give them that black nod. And within 100 hours of Turning Point USA conclusion, Nigeria was struck.
This video off by saying no disrespect to the Nigerian people whatsoever. What is happening in your country right now is sad beyond words. It's disgusting. For innocent black Christians to just be walking down the street and can be unalived, that should not be happening, and it is a very sad situation. To the ones who got on my post and told me don't speak on what I don't know about, come on and sip a little tea with Auntie. We definitely gonna talk about it a little bit. Now, I am a black person inside of the United States, the country that is ran by Donald Trump. Everybody is giving Donald Trump praise. But let me tell you this, Donald Trump could care less about the black people inside of the United States. Do you think for a minute he cares about the black Christians in Nigeria? He does not. Trust me, Donald Trump does nothing for anyone for free. It always has to benefit him some way, shape, form, or fashion. Listen to me, y'all. Follow me. What borders Nigeria? What's right beneath Nigeria? Niger, y'all. Niger is what's right underneath Nigeria. Now, who is one of the top 3 suppliers of uranium in the world? Who? Niger, y'all. What do you need uranium for? Nuclear missiles, nuclear bombs, anything nuclear. So what is Donald Trump's plan? He wants to go in, get into Nigeria to be able to overtake Niger, get all of that uranium as well as gold and everything else that he can benefit from right there and bring it on over to the United States. Why is this an issue with the United States people? Donald Trump goes around stealing and taking things from every country. Don't you think that some of these countries are going to gang up together and get tired of what's going on in the United States and retaliate? What does that mean for the American people? Our military equals our family. A lot of our family members can lose their lives with things that they don't even approve of just because they signed the oath to serve the country. That's why the United States people are in such an uproar. You know, all of this stuff that's going on around in the world, it shouldn't be going on. Yes, y'all, but putting the United States at risk, to overtake stuff. It's like, it's not right, y'all. It's not right. And I know the Nigerian people may see it differently from the American people, but y'all, when it's all said and done, he ain't doing nothing to benefit none of us. And somebody had to say it, and I'll be the one.
The fact that Trump bombed a Nigerian village that has nothing to do with ISIS just lends credibility to what Dr. Umar said. This has nothing to do with ISIS. It has everything to do with Ibrahim Traore and the Sahel Alliance. Regardless of how you feel about Umar, he right about this one. Because the show ain't got nothing to do with no Christians. I mean, if we cared about Christians so much, then how come we didn't drop bombs on Israel itself when Israel dropped bombs on those Christian Palestinians and destroyed those churches in Palestine, in Gaza? Or did y'all forget about that? Nicki Minaj. I mean, Trump just hosted that puppet president of Syria that they put in, and he killed all kinds of Christians. No consequences for him. Not only that, but a mosque was recently bombed in Nigeria, in that part, on December 24th. Muslims are getting killed. Christians are getting killed by ISIS terrorists that we as a country and our deep state created. I knew a sovereign, militarily capable Africa would attract the wrath of the West in due time. When the Sahel Alliance formed, it was only a matter of time after they kicked the French out that another member of NATO would ride for them, trying to take back the resources that Africa's profiting from themselves. Look, people been saying if Pan-Africanism really going to be a thing, they're going to have to practice it on the continent before they do it in the diaspora. That's exactly what the Sahel Alliance is doing with Ibrahim Traore in the front, with Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. They kicked out France, and now Pan-Europeanism is taking place because that's all that NATO is. Even if America got beef with France over America talking about taking over Greenland, they will ride for each other when it comes to keeping Africa beneath its boot heel. Now, black Americans don't seem to care what happens to the African continent because we've been psyoped into thinking that Africa ain't our people and that the problems of Africa ain't our problems. They say, I don't give a damn what happens over there. I'm fighting for reparations over here, just like the Japanese got reparations during the 1980s. And I'm like, how did Japan get reparations in the 1980s? Did reparations come for the Japanese Americans after Nagasaki and Hiroshima got bombed? No. Reparations came for Japanese Americans when in the 1980s, Japan became a global powerhouse economically. Then they were forced to bend the knee because they had a powerful state that rode for Japanese Americans, and they finally got their reparations here. Italian Americans got lynched and got reparations here because Italy was powerful over there. And when they got hung, it caused a diplomatic incident with America and Italy, and they were forced to pay reparations. Need I go on? During the Chinese century of humiliation, the Chinese Americans were dying in the railroads with us. And when China became a powerful state, ending the century of humiliation, Chinese people globally were protected because China itself had leverage and military power. And for European Americans, it works the same way. They can say anywhere in the world, you lay a finger on me, and SEAL Team 6 will be here faster than a heartbeat to kick in your door and kick in your teeth on my behalf. There is no individual power without state power. That's the kind of power that they're building in the Sahel Alliance. They're trying to create Muammar Gaddafi's dream to have a pan-African economy, resource-backed currency, and a military that can protect Africans on the continent and Africans across the world. Ibrahim Traore and the Sahel Alliance are the closest thing to creating that for all black folks. They said so themselves. You want Wakanda to be real? They trying to make it, and the West is trying to stop it. You may not believe in Pan-Africanism, but they practicing Pan-Europeanism right in front of your face. So get on board with it or get left behind. But this is how the world actually works. Like, follow, and share this message out if you agree and you need this conversation to expand. Tell them the truth.
Donald Trump threatening to bomb Nigeria guns a-blazing is not about protecting Christianity. It's about power, optics, and control. This man has never cared about faith. He uses religion like a campaign prop. What he's doing right now is playing savior while setting up the same colonial script America's been running for centuries. You want to paint black nations as violent and chaotic and in need of rescue, then justify stepping in with lethal force. This is not about Christianity. It's about dominance. It's about keeping Africa unstable, poor, independent. Because here's the truth. Every time a black nation rises towards independence or strength, Western powers find a way, calling it a humanitarian reason, to interfere. They call it aid, they call it freedom, they call it protection, but it always ends up with stripped resources and sovereignty lost. Nigeria is one of the most powerful economies in Africa. It's rich in oil, gas, and human capital. Trump threatening that under the guise of religious freedom is political theater. He's appealing to the white evangelical voters back at home who love the Christian hero narrative. But it also sends a message to Africa. You either stay in your lane or America will remind you who holds military might. What makes this even more dangerous is the hypocrisy. Trump's own country can't stop mass shootings, church bombings, or domestic terrorism. Yet he's lecturing Nigeria on violence? That's like a man whose house is on fire trying to tell the neighbors how to handle a candle. If America really cared about peace, it would invest in diplomacy, education, and infrastructure, not bombs and sanctions. But racism runs deep in the U.S. foreign policy. It can't imagine a black nation managing its own problems without Western guidance. And let's be clear, when Trump says Christian, he's not talking about black Christians in Nigeria. He's talking about white evangelical voters in America. He's weaponizing faith for votes, not for God. So yeah, this isn't about saving souls. It's about maintaining power, feeding fear, and distracting the world from the real empire games at play. If America keeps going down this path using religion and race to justify aggression, it won't just destroy other nations, it'll destroy itself. Because you can't claim to stand for freedom while silencing, bombing, and exploiting the very people who built your motherfucking wealth.
So now you've seen the news, and you've heard from content creators out here speaking truth with powerful commentary. Let's be real. This wasn't no act of kindness. Ain't nobody buying that. Trump didn't do this to protect Christians, and he definitely didn't do it out of love for Nigeria. Let's just call it what it is. Another move for power and control. Another example of a man who can't even take care of the issues right here in America, but thinks he's got the right to go playing global police on the other side of the world. This is the same Trump who had zero interest in helping black folks here at home. In fact, his policies hurt us more than they helped. He's been silent when it comes to violence against black people in America. But now, suddenly, he's sending bombs to a peaceful village in Nigeria and calling it a mission to protect Christians? Nah. That don't add up. If you look deeper, this move ain't about religion, it's about resources. Nigeria is the top oil-producing country in Africa. That's billions in natural wealth. And if you know Trump, you know he's all about profit. Remember when he said we should take the oil from countries like Iraq and Venezuela? He's not hiding it. He's been on this mindset. So when you see strikes like this, especially near resource-rich regions, you gotta start asking, who really benefits? And it's dangerous too. Because by framing this like some holy war, like Muslims are out here hunting Christians, it feeds into a false narrative that puts real lives at risk. People on the ground, people who have nothing to do with terrorism, now have to live with fear, loss, and instability. This ain't just bad politics, it's reckless. It shows a complete lack of understanding, or worse, a willingness to ignore the facts for political gain. The reality is, we as black people, globally, are always the ones caught in the middle when leaders like Trump start flexing for power. Whether it's here in the US or over in Nigeria, our lives, our families, our futures are the ones being put on the line. So don't just watch this and move on. Look deeper. Ask questions. Pay attention to the narratives being sold to us, especially when they come from people who never had our best interest at heart. This is bigger than one airstrike. It's about who gets to tell the story and who gets hurt when that story's a lie. I appreciate y'all for watching. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about this. And don't forget to like this video and share it with someone. I'll see you in the next one.